but we don't see any questions. Everything, okay.
You will go in now.
Say hi.
But
Screen session.
yes, I don't see any questions coming up here as yet.
Get messages.
I've got nothing so far.
You have to refresh it.
I have.
No, just refresh it again. That particular post.
Yeah, I have.
And those that we have.
I'm seeing no questions. Yeah, right now.
You're not seeing?
I can see.
I have to lower the sound on this one. Otherwise we will hear an echo from your computer to that one.
Okay, hi Tina, thanks for the question. Well, where it comes to the higher grades, academic rigor is something that we have across all grades, whether it's the lower grades or the higher grades. However, the way we approach it changes a little bit because when you are in the earlier primary grades, the focus is a lot about skill development. It's a lot about understanding concepts and getting a clarity on those concepts. When the students reach grade 9, we make a small change in the way we approach it so that they are prepared for also answering the exams. So while the focus remains on developing conceptual understanding as well as academic excellence and rigor, we also add the element of building exam skills so that the children are ready to take on board exams. Well, the curriculum that we follow in Kunskapsskolan is the Cbs C curriculum, and the focus definitely is on aligning it completely with the Cbs C. So if you look at the learning portal that we use, the learning portal takes its entire content basis from what is expected of children to learn according to the Cbs C. So the alignment is complete. in all classes, so that the children, if they have to move from our school to another school in CBSE, they will be on top of things and they will be in line with what will happen in any other school. The other aspect of alignment to CBSE is, of course, the formative and summative assessments. If you look at the CCE expectation from CBSE, CBSE expects that there be 4 formative assessments and 2 summative assessments in every academic year, starting from grade 8, preferably grade 6. We, on the other hand, have 8 formative assessments that happen right from grade 1 onwards, which is at the end of every step when we do the step subjects, and at the end of every theme when we do the theme subjects. So that's the formative assessments that we do, and then we do have 2 summative assessments, which are the block presentations that happen. When it comes to grade 6, we also introduce a pen and paper test so that the children get used to writing exams. So they do a 1-hour paper from grade 6 onwards, grade 7 is 2 hours, and grade 8 is a 3-hour paper. The idea is to transition them from doing assessments, which are more evaluation of concepts, to being prepared to write exams. I think there was a question about the KET program and the CBSE board exams. As I had mentioned earlier, Tina, the preparation for the CBSE begins from grade 6 onwards in terms of exams preparation. From grade 9 onwards, the change did happen. The change does happen in terms of spending a little more time and focus on preparing the kids for exams. So there is a lot more strength given towards what the CBSE requires of students in terms of exams. I'm going to ask Max to answer the question about ensuring quality of teachers in the school.
Okay, so it's quite a process if you want to become a teacher with Kunskapsskolan. First of all, you have to send in your CV, of course, and you have to have all the educations that are necessary, like a BEd and all that. After a telephonic interview with our manager of HR, some of the applicants will come to a first level interview, where we will, where they will meet one of the principals. And after that first level, some of the chosen teachers will go for a second level interview. And what we are hiring for is a lot about set of mind and attitude. So the way you want to be a teacher is very important to us. If you are a teacher who wants to be interacting with kids in many different ways, who wants to see them grow, who wants to see them develop, who wants to challenge students and be challenged by students, that's the kind of teachers we're looking for, and that's what we are also going to look for in the answers of the teachers. When the teachers are hired, before every academic year starts, we will have about 3 weeks of teacher training. We will have some educators from Sweden coming and helping us out. We have different specialities to train teachers to become good KED teachers, kunskapsskolan educational teachers, taking part of all the different parts of the KED program. Then in Gurgaon, Lucknow, we have 7 weeks of school before the summer break starts. And during the summer break, we will have more time for training. And this is extremely important because now the new teachers have had 7 weeks where they have been able to practice the theories that we went through during the first part of the training. Then every second Saturday is a working Saturday. So, these Saturdays are used a lot for more teacher training. So the first year a teacher is hired by Kunskapsskolan, they put in about 1.5 to 2 months of training as a total. Because winter holidays and some days during the autumn holidays will also be used for training. And then second year we will continue with training on a higher level. So it's quite a system we have for finding the right teachers and then helping them to develop into the way of teachers that we like. But it's a long process. It doesn't happen overnight. And teachers, of course, are a lot better teachers after 6 months with the system than they were the first day.
We also have, as we can say, in KED program, the supporting tool, which is also a teacher program. So all teachers in Kunskapsskolan can develop in 3 steps. And we do that through evaluation and observations in the classroom to make sure that all the teachers have the skills we're really looking for all the time. But they can also improve to be a master skilled KED teacher in our program. And this is in our network because we work with a lot of countries with the KED program, and this teacher development program is in every country. So we can, through observation, classroom visit, discussion and development discussions with the teacher, improve them all the time so they be as skillful we want them to have in our KED program.
I see a couple of questions about the co-curricular activities that happen in schools. Well, in our schools, since the focus is definitely on developing students holistically, there is a lot of focus that we do with curricular activities. I wouldn't like to use the word extracurricular because then we assume that it is outside our curriculum. Art, music, dance, PE are all a part of our curricular activities that happen in our school. Art, music and dance is a part of the theme that each child does right from grade 1 onwards. So if they have to do well in social sciences or in a theme as such, they need to do well in all theme subjects, including art, music and dance. So yes, we do really focus on all of that. However, the availability of different sports activities differs from school to school because it is based on the space availability as well as the time that is required to provide those kind of activities and exposure. The question, I see a question from Nitin asking me about extracurricular and life skills in the overall schedule of students in KI. So I'm going to hand that over to Mats to answer.
Yes, as Sunita said, a lot of these activities are part of the curriculum. So as part of the ordinary schedule in all our schools, we will have dance, music, physical education and art every day in school. And that can differ from 45 to 90 minutes during a day. On top of that, when we have a day boarding school at KI, we add 1.5 hour more to these other activities, and it can be sports activities or other life skills activities. As the school grows, the possibility to choose between a number of different things will be bigger and bigger every year. Now we have something like 6 and 7 or 7 sports going on in the afternoons, and we have, or during the day, and we have also other kind of life skill activities like 3D printing, Robot Genius, and some more things. We have done some carpentry and things like that.
I think the focus is definitely on skill building. So therefore, when you look at life skills that are activities that are happening in the school, the aim is that when students leave our school, they are capable of being independent in every way. And that's why the focus is going to be on aspects such as carpentry, home skills, money management, safety, health. I think there are a lot of areas that we would like to spread out to, but we're starting with these, and of course those activities will keep getting added on.
And therefore also the life skills program is a little bit more than just sports activities in the afternoon related to PE. It's, as Sunita said, it's a life skill program. We will support them and give them the best knowledge they can to be independent and handle everything which will come for them later on in life.
Music and art and dance is also part of the life skills program. If you want to focus on learning how to play the guitar really well, that can be one of the skills that you are training in the afternoon, if you want to. So different students will choose different things. I also see a question about which is the better board, and that's a question I've got many times from different families. And according to me, the board is less important than what you're doing within the board. Most boards will just tell which goals you are supposed to reach, and you can do the Cbs C board in a very good way and in a not so good way, or you can do the IB or IGCS E boards in good or bad ways too. And in our other campuses where we're working, we are using some other boards too, which you probably have never heard about. But the main thing for us is our method. So if we are, the how part of what we are doing in school is the CED program. And it's a lot of focus on personalized education and clear, challenging, but reasonable goals for each and every student. And if we can apply that method into a board, and we feel that it's clear and easy to understand goals that we have to reach within that board, then that board is a good board for us. The reason we choose Cbs C in India is just that. Very particular about what we have to reach, but they don't tell us anything about which method. And that's of course is good for us. Another reason, of course, is that a lot of families in India wants to have a modern method combined with the Cbs C board, and are looking for that.
I see a question from you, Astrid, where you're asking about the life skills program. For us, what you say is absolutely true. There is a lot of focus that we give towards the socio-emotional development of children, which I believe is definitely a life skill. I think it's very important for kids to be able to focus on building things such as stamina, perseverance, an ability to manage time, also the ability for children to make the right choices in life and understand that those choices come with a certain result or an impact, and those choices have to be made with a lot of thought. Those are some of the things that we build into the curriculum straight away. So if you look at the fact that we are looking at personal coaching happening from grade 1 onwards, and the children are gradually, by the time they're grade 4, expected to be able to set their own goals, decide on strategies that will help them achieve those goals. manage their time to be able to achieve those goals. I think we're doing a lot in building those skills. So I hear you make a question about reasoning. I think it gives a clearer picture to you as to how that happens. Jadip's question says, how does a student transition in STEP courses, especially the students who do not meet targets? Do you wait for students to achieve the target? How does the transition when students move to the next class? Would you like to take that question?
Yeah. Of course, if you have a student that doesn't meet the requirements of a STEP, that student needs more time, and then more time will be given. We can't just proceed if the concepts are not clear. But a STEP can be reached in many different learning levels. If you see an exam with the Cbs C, everything between 33% and 100% is an acceptable result. So of course, within this frame, you can have a lot of different learning and knowledge, but we put in a lot of effort to help the kids get a good understanding of the concepts of every step. In the same time, timelines has to be met in one way or the other. You can't push a step forward forever. And if we have a child struggling a lot with the step, then we will have to sit down with the student and the family and the teachers and make a plan. How can we help this child to achieve his goals? So, that usually turns out in quite a good way. Rarely any problem around that.
Right. I think there's a question about the difference between the DLF Phase 1 school and KI. While on the academic level, the academic methodology that is being followed, the curriculum that is being followed, both Kunskap School in Gurgaon as well as Kunskap School in International follow the Cbs C curriculum as of now. The difference is, of course, is that DLF Phase 1 is a day school, while KI is a day boarding school, so they have longer hours. Kunskap School International finishes its day at 4:30 in the evening. Because of this difference, there is an additional time for us to spend a little more focus, or give a little more focus towards life skill development as well as co-curricular activities. So children get the opportunity to spend a lot more time on being exposed to different kinds of sports, different kinds of life skills, technology, and so on. I think the other difference also is the fact that Kunskap School International is built on a larger campus and has more facilities because of that, and therefore there are activities such as shooting, swimming, and so on, which is not currently available at KKG or the DLF Phase 1 school.
Yeah. Details written a question about we challenge our children in...
I think there's a question from Sanchal Monga saying, do you think day boarding poses a pressure on a child? My own observation of the children is that children seem to quite enjoy being in school even though they are leaving at 4:30 in the evening. It's a good feeling, a good tired feeling, a positive feeling of having had a fulfilling day at school with which they leave at 4:30 in the evening. Yes, when the children transition from a 1:30 in KG to 4:30 in grade 1, it takes them a little time to adapt themselves to that extended time, so we haven't really seen it creating a problem for the students as of now.
And as the students also have personal coaches, if we can see in any student that they maybe feel a strong pressure about these things, we will of course discuss this with you parents also, so we have a good day for every child in our school. So that's the reason also to why we have these personal coaches who can support and help the children in an individual way, even when it's come to those kinds of questions.
And when it comes to putting pressure on kids, when it comes to choosing life skills or sports, we don't put any pressure, but we encourage a lot and we challenge a lot. But pressure is not there. This week we had a time trial in swimming, and the students from class 2 to 6 who wanted to participate in this, they could opt for that. And then when the time trial started, if some of the students, and that happened, felt that no, 50-meter freestyle might be a little bit too tough for me, can I opt out? Of course they could do that without anyone putting pressure to them to compete, because that was not the thing to do that day. Then again, I don't like the word pressure, but a lot of encouragement and coaching. If we learn to know the child, and having tough challenges, I believe is good for a child, but it should be reasonable challenges all the time. So having a good balance between that, I think our students learn to grow with challenges and like challenges in life too. But different kids will do it in different ways and have different possibilities to be challenged. And since we have our coaching session, we also learn to know the kids, and we will give them the right kind of challenges. Not too much and not too little.
Right. Nathan, I can see a question about personal coaching happening in school. So the personal coaching session starts from grade 1 onwards, and it is 15 minutes every week per student. The way it happens is that there is a schedule. The children know in advance that on a particular day they are to meet their base group teacher to have their personal coaching session. So that's already scheduled for them. Prior to coming for the personal coaching session, the students are expected to think about where they are in their goals and what kind of learning goals, or what is the learning goal that they plan to take up for the coming week in all subjects. So when they meet their personal coach, the discussion is about one, how are they doing in school and what the last week was like, what did they learn the previous week in different subjects, what are the challenges they met during their learning journey, and if there was any way the teacher could support them in achieving their goals if they were facing a challenge. The other part of the discussion is also about what's the goals for the next week, what are the strategies that they can use in order to achieve those goals. The personal coaching session is a professional discussion between the teacher and the student, and it is to understand how the child is coping with his learning.
So we can also add that the KID program works strongly towards that we should train the students to become good and great learners. So it's very much about the students' strategies they choose to improve in every subject. So we come back to the student strategy all the time, so we can really help them to give tools to improve in every one of the subjects we have in the school. And this is important because later on in the education, when they learn about the learning tools and strategies, they can also become great learners. And that is also part of the life skill program, we can say. So after when they have left us, they also have tools and way how they can also study in a good way when they come to university or lifelong education in everywhere and with any subject.
Okay, admission process.
I think there are 2 more questions on personal coaching.
Okay,
we can take them.
We can take them, okay.
Yeah.
So, okay, personal coaching happens every week for every child, one-to-one from class 1 to class 12. And it's a lot about talking about the clear, challenging and reasonable goals. And if you we have 3 different levels to choose from. If you have a child who is aiming for a level 2 in a subject, for example, English, then the teacher will have an update from the subject teacher every week about how this child is doing. After every formative assessment, there will be a written comment in the education documentation system, which is a web-based information system for parents and students and teachers. And if we see that we have a child doing his level 2 assessments a little bit too easy, of course that child will be coached to go for a higher level. Always striving to have a challenge with the goals. And knowing the kids, we know that some students will like to have challenges that they have a fairly good chance to reach, while other ones would like to have challenges that are quite hard to reach, and they might not reach all the goals. And if they are of a hard mind, well, that can be a good way of challenging yourself. Understanding that if I have 10 tough goals in 10 different subjects, if I reach 8 of them, then I've had a really, really good journey, because I knew they were tough to begin with.
The coaches really need to make sure that the student always work on the correct goals, so they are challenged. It shouldn't be too easy, it shouldn't be too hard for them. It's a way to find exact perfect match with what kind of level they should work on, so they can improve and get better all the time, and still have self-confidence, self-esteem, so they notice and have the feeling of that they are successful in school. And that's really important when we work, and that's something we work with the personal coaches. That's their job, to work with this and the students.
Akshat, I think there is a question about the admission process. The admission process is very simple. You need to register yourself with the school, which you can do either online, or you can come to the school and fill in the hard copy admission form. Once you have done your registration with the school counsellor will get in touch with you to fix an appointment for you to come and visit the school and get an understanding of what the school is all about. You will be taken around the school to get an understanding of what the infrastructure is and how the school looks like, and you would have a conversation with the admission counsellor, and then an interaction with the head of school. Once you are convinced that this is the school for your child, then you can go ahead with the admission process. We follow a first come, first serve process for admissions. So there are a fixed number of seats. Once those seats gets filled, then the admission for that particular section or grade closes down.
Coming back to Sanchi's question, yes, we have a lot of results in our schools which have proved that the coaching will lead to good academic results. The schools that has been around for many years now usually get the exam results or national test results way above the other schools that we compare to. So it's been a success academically.
There's a question from Arpan asking us what are the extracurricular activities that you're going to introduce as part of curriculum, and also a question about what activities are you planning for KKG DLF. Do we see, can we see a swimming pool? What next? Okay. Well, in terms of the co-curricular activities, as I had shared earlier, besides dance, music and art and PE, which are our co-curricular activities, in KKG, with the second building coming up, there is going to be an opportunity to provide more sport. Currently, I think there will be indoor tennis, there is going to be table tennis, there is also discussions about providing badminton and similar sports for the students of DLF phase 1. Besides that, there is also going to be robotics and 3D printing, which will be the other co-curricular activities that the students will be undertaking. Okay, Jaideep, what are your views on the use of technology at such early years, early age of child? How do we control the usage of technology at such a young age? Well, a very fair question, Jaideep. Now, technology is something that is used in the school, of course. From grade 3 onwards is when students start using their own tablets. Right now, the time, or if I might say the online time that students are on their tablets is anywhere between 1 to 1.5 hours in a day in school. Beyond that, they usually are not using the tablets because the way these sessions of the school have been structured, the students have lessons in, they have lectures that they attend, there are lab sessions that they attend. Now those are sessions where they are usually either involved in an activity or are listening to what the teacher is telling them or teaching them. During those periods, they usually are not using their tablets. The tablet usage happens when they are in the workshop, wherein they are working on their own goals with the support of a teacher. So that's where the technology bit comes in. As far as control of usage of technology, I think we're doing a lot of work with our students where we engage with them to talk about the best way that technology can be used, the pros and cons of it. There is also cyber safety and other areas with which we are having sessions with our students so that they understand how important it is to use technology safely and effectively. I see a question from Arpan asking about drama and theatre. For the pre-primary groups, we are already introduced dance and motion and drama through that for the very young groups. For the senior grades, as of now, drama and theatre is a part of the role plays and other activities that they do within their theme presentations. So that's where we are with drama and theatre right now.
And at the first school in the Kunskap that we're offering to the students in the afternoons, we've had a theatre and drama group for a couple of years now.
What if a child studying at KI wants to pursue a particular activity or sport regularly? With KI getting over at 4:30, there will be hardly any time for pursuing a particular activity going back home. So will the school have provisions that the student can pursue that activity regularly at school itself? Okay, that's a question from Nitin.
Yes. Of course, we will be able to provide a lot of these activities for the student in the school at KI. In a small school with few students, we will not the first year be able to do all different kind of things. We are not. We don't have enough students to form a cricket team right now or an 11-player football team. But when the school grows, we will be able to do that, of course. There might also be some sports that we will not be able to do, but the number of sports that we can offer to the students at KI are quite many. So in the future, next year, when we have more students, there will be a better possibility for children to choose what they are going to do. And in the future, we also might have a possibility to add some time in the afternoon after 4:30. But then, of course, the school buses will leave at 4:30 and then parents will have to pick up. So using our facilities in later afternoons or early evenings will be an option in the future. And the same goes for Saturdays and Sundays.
I think in the initial stages, the idea is to give the children an exposure to a variety of sports, and then gradually the children can choose to specialize in one or two of the sports. I think that's the plan. what all facilities will be provided once the extension at KG gets built? I think I've already answered that question. The building will house a indoor sports area. We're planning to have multipurpose hall being provided in that particular building to provide for indoor basketball, badminton, tennis, squash, and so on. So that's the plan as of now. Aparna, is there a possibility if I want to put my child in your school in April? Aparna, yes, you can put your child in April, provided, of course, there are vacancies or seats available. See you.
Aparna, you're talking about nursery admission in April, and in some of our schools that's possible, but in the DLFS 1 branch, I believe we have a waiting list for nursery next year. But if you want to apply to Gurgaon or to Co-Curricular International or Lucknow, that's quite possible.
You have a question, Rashmi, about an opportunity for a 14-year-old unschooled child. I assume that there has been homeschooling happening for that student or for that child, or at least, could you clarify that before I can answer the question, Rashmi? Jaideep, there's a question about what's the student-to-teacher ratio in classes in KI. There are, in the pre-nursery, there are 17 students to 2 teachers. In nursery as well as KG, there are 22 students with a main teacher and a support teacher who is a shared resource. From grade 1 onwards, there is 1 teacher per 22 students. But if I was to look at the overall ratio of the number of teachers against the number of students that we have, it is 1:10. I'm waiting for a response from about the child who is not been to school, which is I think coming from Rashmi. I'm going with the assumption that the student has been homeschooled. I don't think it will be a problem to accept a child who's been homeschooled into our school. The idea that what we will definitely need to do, however, is to meet the student and have a level test to understand where the student is in his understanding of the various concepts that they need to understand for a child of 14. I am assuming you are looking at a grade 9 or is it a grade 8 admissions. If it is a grade 9 admissions, we would not be able to take the student in because we have already applied for the Cbs C and the Cbs C affiliation. So since we are already a Cbs C affiliated school, the norms say that we cannot take any fresh admissions after August 30th. So we will not be able to take a student into grade 9, but grade 8 we will be able to do so. Jaideep, I think there's a question about the strength of students in the senior grades. Even in the senior grades, the maximum number of students that will be there will be 22 students. How the senior students in the senior grades in KKGDL are performing, how's your assessment with respect to the same? I think that's a question that's come from Jaideep. Well, if I was to assume, since our students have not yet gone in for a board exam, which is an external assessment, the internal assessment of our students indicate that the students are doing quite well. So their understanding of concepts, their ability to be able to present their knowledge is pretty strong in our students. And I think we've just had our summative assessments for grades 6 to 9. And I think the results have been quite encouraging. I think there was a question earlier about why did we choose to go with Cbs C. Well, there are different reasons for it. One of the reasons is the CET program is essentially a model of how to teach rather than what has to be taught. So the CET model actually aligns itself with all kinds of curriculum, whether it is the Common Core in US or the GCSE in UK. Or the CIE, which is going to happen in Jeddah here on. Now the choice was because initially it was the Kunskapsskolan companies were using the national curriculum as the base for all their schools. So in India, CBSE being its national curriculum, we reviewed the CBSE and looked at whether it would align with the CET model. And since we found a great alignment between CBSE and the CET model, we chose to go with that. I think the other reason also is that CBSE is a pretty dynamic and strong curriculum. There is nothing wrong with what CBSE expects students to learn at different age groups. And it is also pretty dynamic. And I think that's the reason why we chose to go with CBSE. One more reason, though not as strong enough, is that a large number of our parents are expecting or would like to see their students appearing in professional exams, and the CBSE forms a strong basis for the entrance exams once they finish grade 12. Lalita, your question about Bangalore, we are starting in June 2017 in Bangalore, and we are starting with pre-nursery up to grade 6. And then, like in any other school, we would go from one grade or increase one grade every year. So next 2018 will be grade 7, grade 8, and so on. So that's the way we're going to go. Thanks for the compliment, actually. Yes. A little bit of changing in the systems, but I think we're good now. I don't know what I did. Nidhi, I think it's a question about what is the security systems that you have. Well, Max, would you like to answer that?
When it comes to security, of course, we have guards in all our schools. We have lots of CCTV cameras both inside the buildings and around the buildings and at the entrances. We have buses with CCTV cameras and GPS installed. That are the main thing of the security functions that we have in school. Of course, all employees have to have their police verifications done in a good way too.
I think if we are also talking about the security that we have in technology,
yes,
I think all our schools are though centrally Wi-Fi enabled. There are cyber room and firewalls that are there, which then protects our student from using technology in an appropriate manner. I think there was a question about whether KKG has signed up with Cbs C to participate in zonal and district competitions. As of now, currently, we have not yet tied up or signed up with Cbs C to participate in the zonal or district competitions. Our students, however, are being prepared to be ready to participate at different levels. We've been having discussions about introducing inter-school competitions and to prepare them for such. So yes, that's where we are. Would an external assessment exam for the current senior class be a good idea to assess if the current methodology is in line with what is expected in terms of traditional performance parameters? Priya, the assessment that is happening in school, the internal assessment that is happening in school, is completely aligned with what the CBSE expects the children to learn. And I think that will be is a good parameter for where the children are in their learning. The grade 10 board exams would be the first external assessment in any case for the students who wish to get assessed. But otherwise, I think no school goes in for an external assessment. All assessments are usually done internally in schools. There's a question from Rajshri. I think the question's coming up again and again, and which is about students being able to cope with Cbs C exams. To reiterate what we said earlier, we are preparing our students for the Cbs C. At the end, our school is aiming at providing our students good academic results. Any school works towards that. So therefore, yes, we are preparing our students. From grade 6 onwards, the children are encouraged and are given the opportunity to appear for pen and paper tests so that they get, by the time they are in grade 8, they are attempting 3-hour papers so that by the time they are in grade 10, they're ready to do the CBSE exams. Focus is on understanding concepts, but at the same time, we're also preparing them to recollect and reproduce answers for board exams too.
And I think it's important also to say in the countries we will work with the CAPE program, of course we prepare and train the students before they have these national tests, even in Sweden and other countries. And our results so far is that we are high above the national average when it comes to student results, and that on the independent test we got from the Ministry of Education in every country. So when we measure and see what the results our students have, if we compare to other schools, our students do high above the average level for students in different countries. So, and we are working in exactly the same way when it comes to Kunskapsskolan in India also. It's important for us to prepare the students on the best way before the exam board test they're doing.
Nitin, I think any questions about IGCSE? How different or similar is it to CBSE? I think that's the question that you have. Well, the IGCSE curriculum is in its expectations. So I think the way I would look at it is that when you ask children what they need to learn, the concepts that need to be learned remains the same. So whether it is learning fractions in mathematics or learning about the solar system or about chemical equations, they are the same. However, the approach to learning is the difference. CBSE covers a large area but does not kind of have a lot of in-depth learning about the different topics. So it is a lot of different topics that gets covered under the CBSE. So that's one. It is very content strong in terms of the way learning is supposed to happen. It also focuses a lot about being able to recollect information and reproduce them at the exams. IGCSE, on the other hand, is more research and inquiry based. The topics taken are fewer, and however, the expectation is that the student will delve very deeply into those smaller number of topics. So that's the broad difference between IGCSE and CBSE. Anshita, what involvements do parents have in school? Oh, really good question there. I think we're very strong with our parent-school connects. The idea is definitely that parents should have a lot of say in the development of their child. So that is where we are. We have a lot of conversations with our parents. Parents are a part of our volunteer programs that happen in school. So there are a lot of activities where parents themselves offer to be a part of, whether it is spending time with the children and explaining a concept, or career counseling, or being a part of the trips that we do in schools. So I think parents are definitely involved in the school. As a policy, we are an open and transparent in our interactions. So if parents have any concerns, they are very free to raise it to us, either via email, and if it cannot be resolved, they are welcomed to the school to have conversations with the heads of school so that it can be resolved.
And it's also important to say that we have development discussions with parents, teachers and students every semester. And we go through the goals the students should have, and we discuss together the best strategies and how we can help both from the home and the school to make sure that the students achieve the goals they have put up. So that is a very important session, and we also do an individual study plan which we follow and work with during every semester and every school year. Make sure that the students are on track all the time.
Manisha, there's a question about the CBSE. The CBSE science labs will be fully functional. Right now we do have a lab, by the way. We do have a composite lab which the children and the teachers use, but the separate labs for physics, chemistry and biology will be set up during the summer break and will be functional from June onwards. Right, thank you so much for your questions. I hope a lot of your queries have been handled. Thank you once again.
Thank you.
Thank you.